Welcome to the stage, Bill Kopp.
Oh, this is cool. Cool. Cameron Crowe's Almost Famous is based on his life in the 70s. I've always wanted to be a rock critic / music journalist too. Even when I was a kid, I knew I'd be doing this and looking like this. Yeah. So I've interviewed many of my favorite musicians over the years, and I'd like to share some of my favorite quotes with you concerning the creative process, songwriting, arranging, performance, and so on. And I've actually had the pleasure of meeting some of these. Sometimes it's Skype, sometimes it's telephone, sometimes right there. Ian Anderson of Jethro Tull says, if you can get 80 to 90% of your optimum on stage, then you can sell the other 20% with a little bit of snake oil and charm from the back of your covered wagon. You can convince the punters that they're getting the real deal. Stu Cook from Creedence says, our heroes were Booker T and the MGs. They were of that school. The music is notes and rests. The spaces between the notes may be more important. They help focus where the notes are. Kim Wilson of the Fabulous Thunderbirds says, it's all about females appreciating it. So you've got to be able to sing them up a little bit to get that. Otherwise, you've got problems. Peter Zaremba from the Flesh Tones, that was taken at the Admiral, by the way. We play for people that show up, not for the ones that didn't show up. We make sure that the people that do come have the best time they've ever had. We want to have the best time we've ever had. It starts with us. And Stephen Drozd of the Flaming Lips, who's right there, says, all our energy and focus is spent on making our live show as bombastic and badass a spectacle as possible, and it's purely entertainment. Peter Holzapfel of the DBs, new album coming out later this year, says, I did kids shows for a long time in New Orleans. They take no prisoners. That's a hard audience. You've got to be direct. You've got to work with them to get them into it, and there's nothing wrong with any of that. Greg Lake of Emerson, Lake and Palmer says, if your view of classical music is that it's for the elitist type of the person, what he says, them what knows, then you'll probably be offended when someone like ELP tries to play it. To us, though, it was just doing a great tune that we liked. Gustav Estias, in that picture, you can see that was taken right here, of Dunyan, says, for me, the lyrics are personal. I work a lot on them, but it's not that important. Other people understand them. That's the beautiful thing about music. Even if you don't understand the words, you get a certain feeling anyway. And David Johansen in the New York Dolls says, somebody gets a hit, then 100 other bands go, oh, well, if we do that, maybe we'll get a hit. I figure, well, if I ever felt like doing that, I might as well get a job, you know, because that's not playing, that's working. Neil Finn of Crowded House says, if somebody tells me that a song of mine moves them to tears, or helps them feel better about their day, or gives them comfort, then I'd take that as a huge blessing. Now, Andy Partridge from XTC says, to enjoy touring, you have to be 18 to 20 years old, and you have to be excited about absolutely anything. Hey, we're going to Pittsburgh, yay! So, yeah. Van Dyke Parks says, when you hear Brian Wilson's music, you don't know whether to laugh or cry. And I think that's what great art can do. Not should do. I don't know what great art should do. And that's what makes it precious. Stephen Wilson from Porcupine Tree says, what I do barely feels like work to me. People ask me, are you a workaholic? I respond that to be a workaholic, you've got to feel that what you're doing is work. Making records, that's not work, it's fun, isn't it? Henry Rollins. I figure if I stop talking for 4 seconds, I'll lose the audience, right? Yes, you got to hold them. You got to drill them into their seats. You must be compelling. You must be concise. I go to some shows and I'm like, you charge me $35 and you're like waking up? Thomas Dolby says, I wouldn't touch an 80s nostalgia tour with a 10-foot pole. It would be an admission of, all my glory days are behind me. If you want to get a few drinks in you and take a walk down memory lane, then come to my show. Bill Wyman from the Rolling Stones says, when I was in the Rolling Stones, bless their hearts, we used to spend a month rehearsing for a tour, learning songs that we'd been playing for 35 years. But that's the way it worked, and bless them, it did work. And one of my favorite interviews ever, question mark of the Mysterians. When you put the radio on, all you hear is music. You don't even know if there's females playing the music. You don't even know if there's a crow playing the music. He said that. All you know is that you hear music, right? And that's the way it should be. Well, I could go on, and of course I generally do. But in fact, if you'd like to know more or read more, you can visit my blog, blog.billkopp.com, or musoscribe.com, which is light. I guess somebody clicked on it. I guess that's why. Thanks very much.